So right now, a massive U.S. naval armada is gathering near Iran, and it features an unprecedented deployment of carrier power. Tensions are, to put it mildly, at a boiling point. The source material we're looking at today suggests war could be just around the corner. So let's dive in and unpack the military strategy, the political triggers, and what could possibly happen next.
Yeah, this is the stark warning from the source material that really sets the stage for everything we're about to cover. After the US apparently gave Iran repeated cautions, the analysis claims that something massive is now taking shape in the waters of the Middle East. It's a phrase that just hangs over this entire situation.
And believe it or not, at the heart of this massive event is a single number, 2. Everything we're about to discuss, the strategy, the raw power, the potential for a massive conflict, it all revolves around this number. So what on earth does it represent?
It represents count 'em, two U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups. First, you've got the USS Abraham Lincoln. Its job, with its F-35 stealth fighters, is to be the tip of the spear, to go in first and take out air defenses quietly. And right behind it is the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is bringing the heavy firepower for a long, sustained campaign, with its F-18s and, crucially, its EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. You've basically got two carriers with two perfectly complementary roles.
Look, this isn't just about adding more firepower to the water. We're talking about a historic buildup. According to the analysis, sending the battle-tested crew of the USS Gerald R. Ford sends a crystal-clear message of overwhelming power combined with very recent combat experience. It is absolutely designed to be an intimidating show of force.
Now, to really get why two carriers are so much more than just double the power of one, you have to understand this term, sortie generation rate. Think of it as the tempo of the air war, how fast you can get your planes off the deck, on target, back, and ready to go again.
And this quote from an expert in the source material really just gets right to the heart of it. Teaming up these two carriers allows for a massive, a 33% increase in that sortie rate. We are talking about a relentless, overwhelming pace of air attacks that a single carrier, no matter how powerful, simply could not keep up.
Okay, so that's the what. We know what's happening. But the really crucial question is why? Why this massive deployment, right now? Well, the source points to what it calls a cascade of consequences, all stemming from Iran's recent actions.
The analysis breaks it down into three key triggers. First up, you have the failure to get a new nuclear deal done. Next, Iran's defined expansion of its ballistic missile program. And third, and this is a big one, the regime's absolutely brutal crackdown on its own citizens who are just protesting for change.
And let's just dig into that missile program for a second, because this is a huge deal. The source material highlights that while all these diplomatic talks were supposedly happening, Iran was allegedly busy producing up to 2,000 ballistic missiles. You can see how from the US perspective that looks like a clear sign that the negotiations weren't being taken seriously at all.
And then there's this number, and it's just staggering. The source material, citing documents that were reportedly reviewed by Iran International, claims the regime's crackdown has been far, far deadlier than anyone initially reported, with over 36,500 people killed. That level of brutality is seen as a direct defiance of US warnings.
So with all of that as the backdrop, what would a US military response actually look like? The analysis describes a plan for a shock and awe campaign, but not a quick one. No, we're talking about a sustained, multi-week air assault launched entirely from the decks of these two carriers.
And the strategy, it's like a perfectly choreographed, multi-layered operation. First, the F-35s from the USS Abraham Lincoln would go in dark, using their stealth to literally punch holes in Iran's air defense network. That opens up corridors for the second wave, F-18s and Tomahawk cruise missiles launching just massive bombing runs. All the while, you've got E-2D Hawkeyes circling way up high, acting as the eyes in the sky, coordinating the whole attack. And finally, you have the EA-18G Growlers jamming everything, blinding the enemy and protecting the fleet.
But here's the thing. Iran wouldn't just sit back and take it. Of course not. They have their own strategy, what the source calls an asymmetric counterplay. They know they can't match the US plane for plane or ship for ship, so they rely on these unconventional tactics designed specifically to be a carrier killer.
And this slide just lays out the contrast perfectly, right? It's a tale of two completely different kinds of power. On one side, you have the overwhelming conventional might of the US military. Carriers, stealth fighters, the whole shebang. On the other, you have Iran's playbook. Swarms of attack drones, super fast boats, volleys of ballistic missiles, and activating proxy forces all over the region.
It's a strategy of trying to land 1,000 cuts against a giant. Which brings us right back to the central military question here. Why are two carriers the specific answer to this asymmetric threat? It's not just about having more bombs to drop. It's about a much smarter defensive strategy.
This is how the two carriers create a tactical trap, according to the analysis. It forces Iran into an impossible choice. Okay, option one. Do they focus all their asymmetric assets, their drones, their boats, their missiles, on trying to take out just one carrier? Well, if they do that, the second carrier is completely free to strike without any resistance. Or option two. Do they split their forces to try and attack both at the same time? If they do that, their attacks are much weaker and way easier for each carrier's robust defenses to handle. It's a classic dilemma with no good answer.
So, with all the military chess pieces moving into place, the entire situation now pivots to a diplomatic crossroads in Geneva. A new round of nuclear talks represents what could be the very last off-ramp from a truly devastating conflict.
And this timeline really shows you just how fast the clock is ticking. On February 12th, the US president issues this very stark warning. Just 3 days later, on the 15th, Iran pushes back, essentially saying the ball is in America's court. And it all comes to a head on February 17th, when these talks are set to begin, with this entire naval armada looming just over the horizon.
So this is really what it all boils down to. Is this historic naval deployment just the ultimate piece of leverage? A massive, powerful tool to force a diplomatic breakthrough at the negotiating table? Or, as the source material seems to suggest, are we watching the final deliberate move before the first shots are fired? That is the question hanging over everyone as the world watches and waits.